in the inaugural session, there were a lot of deliberation on how to respect. The panel here is all the male panel, and sometimes I say it's a glass ceiling for the men also. When there are all women, am I right? Okay. I will tell you one example. In 2007, there was some award of the government for the work on, especially the crime against women and all. And unfortunately, in all the categories, all the awards were reserved only for the women. Then I realized this is one field where there is a glass ceiling for the men. And when my co-panelist here, like he's working on the men against the violence, now we have the Arindam Banerrji from Wells Fargo. He's also going to talk on the respect of the women. I want to tell you that the respect basically will be coming by small things. And as a law enforcement officer, what we do to get that respect, like we encourage by creating the right environment first, so that women will be respected in the society. There will be some people who will have I know people have the fear, and that fear is, one is the fear of the God, and second is the fear of the law. And the fear of law only will be there when it is visible. Unless and until the police, the presence of the police or presence of the cop is there, that fear will not come amongst the criminal. In our society, we always say there are 99.999% people, they are very good people. Only microscopic minority people, 0.001, they may be antisocial. But what happened? The things they do in society that create lot of fear of the crime, lot of terror kind of thing, the same thing the governor sir was saying in the morning, and the media also many times report on that only. So because of that, there will be some kind of fear psychosis in society. So what is required here, first of all, we have to check the hotspots where this kind of deviant behavior is there in the society. And what we do as a cop, we do hotspot analysis, we put our patrol mobiles there, we put our police on the beat duty, police on the point duty there, and of late now, we started covering those areas with the cameras, CCTV cameras. In Cyberabad, there are around 64,000 cameras. In Rachakonda, I have around 65,000 cameras. In Hyderabad city, there are more than 3 lakh cameras. Totally put together, there may be, say, around 5 lakh CCTV cameras in the city. And that is helping us a lot in crime prevention, in crime detection. Many times you see in the society, there are boards also, you are under the surveillance. The camera may not be there, but the board itself is a deterrent in the society where the people will have fear. Yes, you are under surveillance of the camera. And people do wrong things at all the places. Just, I will tell you 1 or 2 examples. Recently, our C-team people, they got one complaint from one 17-year-old girl of our C for Her volunteers group. She was telling about in a running bus from Neradmat to Kushaiguda, one conductor, while giving a ticket, he is misbehaving with the girl. And this is not the first time. Every time he is doing like that. The first time, when she has narrated, we asked her, have you noted down the bus number and all? No, that was a reply. Then she has come out with the bus number, and then our team, Salima is here, they have gone there, they have done the decoy operation, they have caught red-handed that bus conductor. He is a 50-year-old fellow, he did his duty, to respect women. How the women passengers will move freely in the bus if the conductor himself is misbehaving with them? Similarly, I will quote you another example of metro. At metro railway station, one of the security guard, he misbehaved with one of the women, and then immediately he was removed from the duty. by the metro authorities. The Brigadier Patil, I spoke to him, he said they have taken strict action on him, and such people are there everywhere. The thing is, we should say no. Whenever such things you notice, the first thing is you have to raise voice. There should not be a culture of silence in the society. You should say no. How many of you have seen the movie Pink? Please raise the hand. Good. I think everyone has seen. You know the basic things, when to say no. And recently, the Supreme Court of India has also delivered a judgment. Even there is a woman of the age of virtue, even she can say no. Even the prostitute can say no. Even your own wife for the male, she can say no if she is not willing for the cohabitation. So this is the law. You must understand. In our society, for creating respect, all kind of things, we law enforcement officer, we keep doing, but it should not be a one-way process. We want the cooperation from the women also. We want the timely complaint. We want that they are raising the voice. They are not suffering or tolerating. Another thing is, we don't want, especially in the corporate industry, we don't want quid pro quo. That you do something for me, I will do something for you. If you get blackmailed through that, then it is difficult to get out of the trap. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Very well said. I'll move on to you, Harish, and hear from you your opening views.
So to me, respect means men in the workplace, men in general in society, accept the differences. The differences of opinion, differences of viewpoint, the right to say no, respecting the individuality, respecting a woman as a human being with her own likes and dislikes, respecting a person having her own opinion for various aspects related to the workplace. So one is that, the other is creating a culture where, a man either personally is not using sexist remarks or even swear words in the name of mother or sister. So I think if that commitment, I think the men in the auditorium, if they are able to give, and in general in society we percolate that, I think that would be the biggest way of respecting a woman. Because saying bad, abusive words in the name of mother is a disrespect for his own mother and sister, but in general to the womankind. So I think let's begin with ourselves, be the change we want to see in others. So one is not using these remarks. At the same time, any kind of misogyny, which is so rampant in general in the society, and victim blaming. So I find that if it is not stopped, so men who are witnessing any kind of statements which are victim blaming, they should intervene, they should take up a stand, and that shows that they are standing up actually rather than superficially talking about equality and respect. So I find that is very, very critical, and especially in the current times where we are after the Me Too movement, we find that the right of women to say and express. Why did the Me Too movement came? Because the systems were not functional, ineffective. Let us accept that, and hearing a woman, what she's saying and what she's not saying, that is also a kind of respect according to me.
Thank you so much. Arindam, your views.
Thanks, Vishnupriya. So I think both the honorable gentlemen to my right have given a perspective, and I think when I think of it, sometimes you feel like actually when you talk about respect and respect for women, is that men will actually do themselves a favor by remaining a child. Because as you grow up, the person that you respect the most is actually your mother, right? If you can just keep on sustaining that as a behavior through your life, right? I think that's the first step I think men can really help themselves on. I think the second thing really is, like Harish just talked about, is that in our day-to-day, in having some level of fearlessness in calling each other out, right? Because not all of us are perfect, right? We've got different groups of friends that we talk with. We go through hostels, we come out into IITs. After that, we get into the workplace, and the workplace tensions come into flow. Habits build, right? How do you get out of those habits, right? It's actually only going to be if we start getting self-aware about that and call each other out. I mean, there is nothing wrong in that, and that will actually earn the respect of the women if we do that, and we do that, I think, at least we do that fairly openly. The final thing I'd put out there is, giving a workplace which is making sure that it is safe, secure, and endure sort of respect in the workplace. How do you then work? And I can see, and I have to congratulate the SCSC and the Cyberabad police officers over here, and a lot of people in the uniform over here, which is how taking that respect that you're trying to build as a culture within the workplace into wider society, right? Even if a little bit of impact can be made, that's a big, big difference. I completely get that, in a large city, and most of the large cities in India, it is difficult, right? You have huge amount of migrant labor. You have huge amount of split families who are staying in these cities. These are social conditions in an emerging economy which are real, right? And I do believe, the more we do in terms of engaging, talking, and building, relationships, the safer our society is. I mean, the SCSC and the police are doing, in my mind at least, the little observation that I've had living in Hyderabad for the last 6 months, they are doing phenomenal work, right? And it is going to get us somewhere which is hugely, I mean, you think of this 10 years from now, things will change. I'll just close it, all through my career, I have heard about, everybody comes up and says that women in technology, right, is 10%, is 20%. You go to a campus, you won't find enough women in technology. I've been actually really fortunate to go to 2 colleges in the recent last 1 month, one in Coimbatore and one in the southern parts of Andhra. There was more than 50 to 60% women technologists in the graduate classes. So something is changing, and it is our role to make sure that their careers, aspirations, they're able to take them all the way through.
Thank you so much, Arindam. So don't keep the mic yet. My next question is again to you. Being a leader of, corporates today, they do in many ways mirror the society. So, what happens in corporates, and people learn a lot, I believe, from corporates themselves in the work environment that they have. Within your organization currently or earlier, some of the measures that these kind of, and you have a lot of women from industry here today, what are the various measures you think organizations can take to create an environment which is inclusive? And you could share some examples from Wells Fargo or otherwise.
Sure. So I think, creating that inclusive environment is 2 things, right? One is making sure that your processes and your, thought process within the organization in terms of how intellect is sort of, built within the organization are sort of non-discriminatory. And that goes from everything down to how, HR processes work, how transport mechanisms work. Do people feel that they really have the equal opportunity or not? And there are lots of small things which need to be done in terms of making sure that the unconscious bias, if there is any, and I can assure you there's plenty, right, is taken away, right? And that unconscious bias is coming through the years of culture and the build that we've gone through and the change in us, right? The second thing I think from a corporate perspective we have to actually then have to do is in that environment, making sure that all our processes around ethics, around compliance, around how you take in sort of whistleblower complaints, how you take in external thought processes, and you're able to display and demonstrate that they are clean, the process actually works, and they are confidential. You're able to maintain that workplace ethic where people feel protected. They're not sort of scared of retaliation. So I think within the corporate, these are the two things which you watch out for. One is, how do you make sure at any step there's no non-discriminatory area? And the second is, on the other hand, that if there is retaliation, there should be no retaliation, steps for that.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Harish, to you. What is the modus operandi of this men against violence and abuse, and how do you go about talking to those men again? Because we're talking about respect, we're talking about respect for women, and the other party in the entire equation is men. So how do you get about doing and bringing them into understanding this?
So, Men Against Violence and Abuse, or in short, MAVA, has been India's first organization pioneering. 26 years ago, we were born, and we are in our 27th year. On the 11th of March, we will be completing 27 years. So, our work is spreading from Maharashtra to other parts of India. The focus is largely on preventive, that is, engaging men and boys to prevent gender-based violence on women by using innovative, out-of-the-box methods. So we work with colleges, schools, communities, largely 13 to 17 and again 18 to 25-year-old young men. And we engage them, in variety of ways through even simple things like theater, street plays, film festival, which is a traveling film fest, or even open forum discussion, because I find that there are dearth of spaces for young men and women to talk into the roots of gender-based violence, including topics on sexuality, for which there are taboos. So, it's very funny that people want sexual harassment at workplace to stop without talking about sexuality. Can it be stopped? We want to stop sexual harassment at workplace. And without talking about healthy sexuality, what it is, or conversations around sexuality with that openness, you will not find people forthcoming. So I find, and another thing I would like to say, that apart from working with young men in colleges, schools, and communities, we also reach out to corporates, NGOs, universities across India. And, all of us know that in 2013, the Sexual Harassment at Workplace Act, which is called as the Sexual Harassment at Workplace Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act, 2013 in December. Now that act is applicable all over India. For the last 2-3 years, whatever efforts must be happening to some extent are largely focusing on redressal. But even in the redressal, there are some good practices which should be encouraged. Like, for example, should the internal committee, we must remember that now there was only one amendment in that entire law which said that instead of calling internal complaints committee, they should be named as internal committee, not ICC. They should be named as internal committee because their role is also preventive. So despite that, people are using the word ICC. So these internal committees, whether they are functional, whether the committee members are visible, approachable to the people, that you find is a question mark. So and if at all there is a complaint, then only should the committee meet. So the practice which many good corporates in Mumbai and elsewhere, the Tata group of companies, they at least meet once a quarter. And their role is beyond, as I said, preventive level to ensure that conversations, healthy conversations, when you say our companies having a zero tolerance policy, it should be clearly visible, it should be felt by each and every employee. So even simple thing like dissemination of policy, the dissemination is not sending by email the policy. Dissemination is ensuring that everyone has heard about it, read about it, and at various forums, the people at the top helm are talking about it. So the culture of talking, unless that is there, otherwise it will be reduced to compliance. So we want to inculcate a, a culture. So I believe, so there are ways in which, women should get an opportunity to, so even another part is about the number of complaints. Many corporates would think, or even NGOs or universities, the less number of complaints or nil complaints means an ideal situation, is a good situation. But on the contrary, if you ask me, if there are, factual reporting, and even if the number of complaints may be significant, it in a way reflects that the internal committee is active. It, in a way, shows an enabling environment is in place. That women are forthcoming, and after one woman is coming, there are others who are coming back. And, so I think those needs to be encouraged.
I would agree with you. The trend is very healthy, that there are more coming up. I think that we should really appreciate and not think that there's more happening, there's always happening. It's probably more, the reporting is happening, which means people are more comfortable now to speak out. Thank you so much for sharing that, and I'll come back to you. Sir, from your perspective, especially you've done a lot of work in the space of trafficking, and Sunita was here as well, Miss Sunita Krishnan. I know you have done personally quite a bit of work there in that space. And that when you say trafficking, it's really at the zero level of respect for the individual. I mean, they're not even treating people as human beings there. So what is the psyche there, and how do we support people who would be really down in the dumps in that environment and the culprits there? Some bit of your experience around that, and what kind of work we have done from a rehabilitation perspective also.
Thank you, Vishnupriya, for ice-breaking on human trafficking. Though I think this forum is mostly for the harassment at workplace and all, I will just touch this topic, what we are doing. And see, the trafficking is the second largest organized crime in the world after drugs. It's almost $150 billion trade. 54% of the women and children, they are getting trafficked for the sex trafficking. 36% around is for the forced labor, and the remaining for the, say, adoption, child pornography, circus, and other purposes. It's basically a human right violation. The women in the trafficking, they get recruited, they get harbored, they get transported, and then the further harassment start. If they are not yielding to the demands of the trafficker, there will be a torture. If you go to the trafficking rehabilitation home, and if you listen to any of the victim, she will tell you what happened with her in the initial period when she was saying no. You can say many scars on their bodies, you can say cut injuries, you can say burnt injuries. And even during the profession, every day they have to suffer. I have many cases with me, not only from India, but abroad also, where we rescued girls. I will tell you one story. A story of two sisters from East Godavari, a place called Mandapeta. They were interested in going for a domestic maid job to Dubai. So both of them, they made their passport, and then one fine day, they landed in Dubai. On the passport, their age was manipulated. Instead of 19 years and 17 years, these two sisters, their age was manipulated as 31 and 30 years. Anyone can know the reason? If the age is above 30 years, for the domestic maid job in the Gulf country, on the airport, there will be immigration check not required, stamp will be there on your passport. Without immigration, you can go. So for that job, that age was manipulated on the passport. After landing there, they were sold to the brothels. One customer from Telugu state again, he went there and he listened to their story. He alerted our Dubai consulate. These two sisters were rescued by our Indian consulate in Dubai with the help of Dubai police. They were sent back. After they're coming back, I was that time the DIG of Eluru range, it's a matter of 2009 and 2010. We came to know, then we interacted with them, and the story was very sad. Every day there will be 10 to 12 customers not taken bath for weeks together, and all kind of dirty things they used to do with these two sisters. Then they told about the local people who were there in the racket, who has prepared their passport, who has taken them. Then they told one more thing, that they are not the only victims. There are many girls from the southern state of India, Karnataka, Kerala, from Pondicherry, from our Hyderabad, who are going as a domestic maid, but they are getting sold there in the brothel. And the boarding point is a Mangalore airport. Why Mangalore airport? Because the kingpin of this racket, he was from Mangalore. He was operating from Dubai, but he was having his agents at Mangalore. So through them, he was procuring them. As a part of that operation, we could arrest all the traffickers from all the state except the person who was operating from Dubai. We contacted the Ministry of External Affairs. They have office here in Hyderabad. There is a joint secretary rank officer, sometimes deputy secretary, but one officer will be there in our secretariat. He helped us. Immediately, with the passport number of the accused wanted in our case, he addressed a letter to the consulate in Dubai that so and so person is wanted in a case of Mandapeta police station and his presence is required. Again, Indian consulate contacted Dubai police. That person was caught. His passport was impounded and he was deported back in how many days? In only 1 month. 1 month the accused we got from Dubai to Mandapeta for our investigation. Right now we see the people like Vijay Malla and all, how much time it takes to get them for investigation. Even in the known cases, even they are attending the matches there in the foreign country and all. It's very difficult. Trafficking, I must say, it's an organized crime. We police, we always have a problem. We have, like I am Rachakonda commissioner. So my jurisdiction is Rachakonda. So going beyond Rachakonda is difficult for me. Going beyond Telangana is again difficult for me. And going beyond our country is the most difficult for me. It's very, very difficult. That advantage of that situation, generally, the traffickers take. Every year, around 30,000 women and children, they are getting trafficked from India. And the global figure is 8 lakh per year. Different purposes. We have done many rescued for the labor. The Odisha children we rescued for last 2 years. And not only rescued, we have, since their parents were here, working in the brick kiln, so what to do for them? That was a major challenge for us. We can't send them back because parents are working here. So then, Sunita ma'am helped me. We brought one NGO from Odisha. They provided teacher who can teach in Odia language. So we started Odia language school in Hyderabad with the help of district collector. So from the month of January till June, when the parents are working in the brick kiln, the children are now going to Odia language school. And after going back, they are continuing the education with the help of Odisha government. So many things are there we have done for rehabilitation. It's a continuous, relentless effort that we have to make. And I always say that this trafficking is one such issue. We have to eradicate it from the root cause. We should not do the superficial work. Just for rescue, we can't stop. Unless and until we do the rehabilitation, we do the restoration, we do the repatriation, we do the reintegration of the victim, it may not get stopped. And for this again, what we are doing nowadays is arresting the customer, because they are the main people who are generating the demand. So we are nowadays not only arresting them, but even ensuring for their prosecution. So that is helping us. We are closing down many brothels. You might have read in newspaper. We in Rachakonda, not less than 100 apartments, guest houses, lodges we have closed, giving the magistrate order. And that is now helping us. Now people letting their flats, they are checking the antecedent of the tenant, whether he is running any brothel. Why he is giving more rent to me? So that kind of change has come in the society. Nothing is difficult. Only thing is, again, I am saying that you have to go to the root cause. I know one शेर of Galib, that उम्र भर गालिब यही गलती करता रहा, धूल चेहरे पे थी, आईना साफ करता रहा. I think.
Well said, sir. Very, very well said. Very well said, and that's really what it is. I know I'm being shown the time, that the time's up, but we do want to encourage some questions. There was some closing notes, I would say, if we can, and then we'll open it for questions. One is also the self-respect part of it. So while there are many things, many avenues available for women, there is also that piece, and we will explore that more in our next theme, which is reach. But just from your perspective, women, and how do we encourage women to start with self-respect also? So there are a few here, who are sitting here, and I think they are brave people who have stepped out of their homes, and they are working in some form or the other. But in general, exploring that entire concept of self-respect, your views, maybe Harish, we can start with you, and quick views and some closing remarks if you have, and then we'll open it for maybe 2 or 3 questions. Audience, please keep your questions ready. The mics will come to you, and then we'll close the session.
So I think that enabling environment is a word which we often say, but to have that enabling environment, the effort of all, not just the top management of that organization, but employees, including male employees and women employees, play a very critical role. Because, the culture, so, one side at the workplace, if you want to have a dignified work environment, but in general, if across our society, misogyny and rampant, sexism is there. And most importantly, what I would say that when I'm traveling now across the length and breadth of the country, you find that there is a, normalization of gendered violence, that there's nothing wrong. So, even women sometimes internalize, because as a result of the patriarchy, that, they don't understand that this means sexual violence or abuse, Often, people, I have seen, in any workshops which we conduct, almost 1 hour, 1.5 hour goes in telling what is sexual harassment according to them as participants and what is as per the law. So even a simple thing, a misunderstanding or an internalization that, there should be an actual act, a sexual act done for it to fall under the ambit of law. But even, because women have internalized over the years, they do not see that staring or, making sexist remarks in direct, covert or, subtle ways, So I find that needs to be there, and, policy of non-retaliation should be there in, worded that if at all a woman makes a complaint, that she will not be, even if it is not proved, she will not be further victimized. Neither she nor the witness testifying on her behalf. So I find if that is there, then the enabling environment is there, and the self-respect would come when there are people around, there are men standing up, because we must understand that in the last few years, especially after the Me Too thing, that people think that the camaraderie which was there existing earlier will be lost, and for a simple pretext, women would make a complaint. So I think the purpose of the law has its own place, but the idea is not to kill that camaraderie, but have an enabling environment where we must all understand, and that is what Mawa's philosophy is, that our enemy is not men, but our enemy is the attitude, male-dominant attitude, which can be there even among women. So if we are crystal clear who is up in a fight, and even the law which is there, the sexual harassment law, it doesn't say that men, if it is proved that the case was false, then, the law comes to the rescue of the men also. So, the law is not anti-male. We must realize that, for the law to be effective, the men have a lot responsibility. They should come ahead, testify. They should have an environment where, there is no chivalry. you know, this is something which women are not expecting. Chivalry, pehle aap. They are looking as equals where, you know, their views will be taken into confidence, even if it is a differing view.
Thank you so much, Harish. Arindam, any closing remarks, any comments?
I'll be short. So I think, you know, I mean, from a self-respect perspective, my sort of suggestion or advice to women would be, just be yourself. I mean, in your workplace, be confident about being yourself and keep your authenticity, and that authenticity will survive different onslaughts if it comes through as you make your career in your organizations. But trust it, the world is going to recognize it, and continuing to maintain that authenticity and not trying to play a different route, right, is something which is very important. And then the reason for that is you are bringing very different skills, very different behaviors, very different thought processes, but sometimes it's the same, right? And when you bring these to the table, that's when you get the real inclusive environment flowing through. That's when you're flowing through. As they sort of progress their careers in their workplaces, just need to continue to be authentic, right? And play in a manner which they're not deviating from that to try to be someone else in their careers.
And I see that as genuine inclusion is where you are accepting and including people for who they are, not making them someone else. And it's not defined by men, is the way I would see it. Women should come in and make a place for themselves for who they are. I think that's a very important part. Thank you for sharing that, Arindam. Sir, any closing remarks, and we'll open it for questions.
Yes. I just want to tell you that many times women, they have their own misconception about the police. That maybe because of the Hindi cinema or I do not know, but and we always see those those who are coming into contact with the police, they have better opinion about the police than those who have not yet stepped down in any police station.
Yes, for sure. All of us who have been working
Okay.
with them, one round of applause for the police department here.
We don't say without any work come to the police station, but at the right time, do approach police. There are now, you see, 2006, I was Superintendent of Police of Women Protection Cell of United Andhra Pradesh. I used to see that women are coming through some mediator. That mediator is having someone known in the police station. Nowadays, the kind of complaints we get on the WhatsApp, and a lot of change in all these 12 years now. There is no Me Too required in Hyderabad. We have Margdarshak, we have See for Her. Am I right? So I have not seen any Me Too complaint here, at least because of the empowerment of them. They are now directly writing every day. Now we are getting at least 15 to 20 messages in Cyberabad WhatsApp control number and our Rachakonda WhatsApp control number, and many complaints of the working women, of the college girl. There will be a bottom line. Please do not inform to our parents. What it means? That means they trust more on the law enforcement officer than the parents. They want immediate solution. That kind of confidence has been generated by the C team, by the Margdarshak, by C for Her. Please remember, the sexual harassment at workplace, internal committee, it is there of course, but it is my personal opinion. Many times going through that process is re-victimization. Many times those who complain inside the company, they get vindicated, they get targeted, that so and so, and how to get rid of them, that is the first priority of the management. What law says? In 354A of Indian Penal Code, that is after the Nirbhaya Act, the gang rape case of Delhi, that section has been added, 354A, B, C, D. 354A is the definition of harassment at the workplace, where the sexually colored remarks are there, where anyone asking you the sexual favor, anyone showing you the pornographic literature, anyone making the sexually colored remarks against you, all it amounts to sexual harassment at workplace, and there is a punishment up to 3 years. Don't wait for 3 months and all. Let that process simultaneously go. Approach the police through the WhatsApp control, approach the police directly through the Margdarshak, come to the police station, we'll lodge a parallel complaint, we'll do the investigation, at least we'll ensure that person is not harassing you again. But don't wait for the 3 months period and all. That is my personal opinion. Another thing, especially for our IT company, corporate sector, is about living in relationship. We get many complaints. There is only one law in India, that is the 2005 Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act. That act accepts living in relationship. As per that act, if you are in living in relationship with anyone and that person has cheated you, now he's not going for the marriage, you can very much lodge a complaint in the police station, or you don't want to go to police, go to the protection officer in our state of Telangana. It is the project director of Women and Child Development Department. Our secretary is there. Jagdishwar Garu is here. So under him, this PD Women and Child Development, they are there in every district headquarter. Directly they will take your complaint to the court. You will get protection order. You will get residence order. You will get monetary compensation. Many things are there. So these laws are there, very beneficial to you. So don't think that you are alone in the society. No. We are always there. As a law enforcement officer, I must promise you, we are here to support you. So please utilize the services of C team, utilize services of Margdarshak, utilize services of the nearest police station which is accessible to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. And my organizing team has been telling me you are really overshooting time. Maybe 2 questions and that's it that we will be able to take. Any questions? I do see 2-3 hands. So there is a question right there. The mic's coming to you.
While the mic goes, I just want to endorse on Sir's point. I have this small incident which I want to narrate, that, I was once sending a WhatsApp of my office images to my designer, and it unfortunately went to a broadcast list and went to some 780 people, okay, which is very unfortunate, and Sir was one of them. In 10 seconds, and the picture was I sitting in my office with 3 other employees who were standing around me and working. Within 10 seconds, Sir calls me, "Are you all right? Is everything fine?" Right? Within 10 seconds. And I was like, till then it didn't occur to me that I've made a mistake. I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry, sir, it's gone by mistake." But he actually felt, is she in trouble? Is this a way of communicating? So that's something, I don't know of many cities where this happens.
Yeah, we'll
Hello,
take.
my name is Srinivas Velaga. I run a training organization called Nipuna. My question is, a man and a woman has a role in a family, right? Now, my question is, are we putting more burden on women by telling them that success is also going out and earning a job and earning money and also taking care of the family? Are we putting more burden on women if we made homemaking as glamorous and as respectful and tell women that this is actually even more challenging than going out and earning money? Will we be doing better service to women rather than telling them that going out and earning a job and earning money is actually successful? That's my question.
Created gender roles. Who tells you that looking after a home is a woman's job? 1. Point number 1. Point number 2 is the choice has to be the woman's. No one is saying being a homemaker is not a good job. It is a very, very important job. You are raising children, you are raising leaders for the society. There are people who are going to be participating, and whoever brings up the children, they play a very big part. But the choice needs to be with the man and the woman of what they want to do with their lives. They want to be a homemaker? Great. They want to go out and work? Great. The choice has to be the woman's. Today, that choice is not with the woman. And that's why we are all here. Thank you for asking the question. Anyone would like to add?
The expectation is that the number of women also giving impetus to that my wife does both the things together, she's a multitasker, they would take pride in that. So I think if the woman herself decides, the question is about choices, whether I want both the things or I want only the workplace or at home, it should be left to the concerned person and it should not be thrusted or, so I think that is solely missing. So, in our country, we either respect women as Devi or a Dasi, but not as a human being with her own likes or dislikes. The moment we start respecting that, this question will be immaterial.
Thank you for asking. Sir, you want to?
I just remember what Harish ji said. I just remember one. There is in somewhere in Vedas it is written, how should be a woman? So they said that Karyeshu Dasi, she should work like a slave in the house. Karneshu Mantri, the minister in the cabinet, the way he listened to maybe the chief minister and others and immediately implement. So like that there should be women. The third thing is Bhojeshu Mata. She should be like a mother feeding her baby. She should feed everyone in the family in that way. And lastly, Shaineshu Ramba. She should be like a Ramba in the conjugal life. So all these things men want. And it is coming from 2000 years. So I have forgotten your name, Srinivas, na? Yeah. So in a day, it's very difficult to change the perspective of the society. The gender is so tightly, it is labeled on every person. If any man do any job which is assigned to the women, immediately the neighboring person and the society start criticizing them. I still remember, my mother was a teacher. She used to go to school and there was no one in the house. So she used to ask me, Atta Gunna. So I used to do that job. I know that, how to do it. So by the time she come, I used to do that, all these things, and keep ready the kitchen. One of my friend he was teaching me, Arey, you are doing all the ladies' work. It happens in society. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Any other? One more question.
First of all, thank you for providing this opportunity to be here and here to all of you. Thanks for that. I really appreciate the work you guys have put in. My question is because you people have a power to change or implement, right? I see most of the things are being told to women to do this, to do that. Feel you are in the power, believe in yourself. My question is, are we doing something to sensitize men? Because I think more this of gender biasness and everything, until we break the mindset of men to empower women or, to get to the respect level of it, it will not be like, I want respect, I want to rise, right? It should be a joint effort. So are you guys putting some effort in educating men across the things you are doing or the companies you are associated with it? I have maybe I am not knowing, I have not seen any programs that are designed for men to educate them on these grounds. So what's your take on that part? How effectively you can enforce it to get that kind of, reach to each man to understand all these concepts? Of course, as a woman, because I need it, I'm attending it, but what are the efforts for men?
We got it. Thank you for asking that question. Arindam, would you like to attempt that?
Yeah, I'll take a stab. So I think there are two things over here, right? One is that men as trustees or wardens of organizations, what are we doing within our organizational power in terms of making sure those sensitization programs are held and people are appreciating, and I think, to be fair, some of it is happening, right? But there's another one which is what I call the personal commitment, right? The personal commitment that each of us, and it's not just me in my organization, hundreds of men, right? Is what are those little things that you make sure you communicate in every forum where you've got a significant number of men and this topic comes up. And one thing, and I know for the last 20 years, because that's when it first happened to me, any graduate coming out of school, as they get into their first managerial levels or supervisory levels, my constant advice to them is start by working for a woman, right? If you have a woman manager in your experience profile, you will start appreciating a lot of things about women if you go through that experience. There are countless men who go through their entire career and haven't worked for a woman. Right? So I think, and actually I encourage young people, right, do that early in your career. Right? You will start understanding and appreciating what the challenge is. It's definitely a more difficult path. There's absolutely no doubt about it that a woman's career is a far more difficult path, right? So, but, what can we do as individuals in making that personal commitment is I think each of us has to do that on our own.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Just add, I feel that the law on sexual harassment at workplace gives an opportunity to engage the male employees in a big way, which is not being used fruitfully. Because the role of the committee, as I said, the role of the top management is not just redressal. Redressal is one part. In fact, 70% of the work is prevention. And that can happen when, like the law mandates that there should be periodic workshops in plural. It's not one workshop. It should be periodic activity which will engage them, which will give an opportunity for men to openly talk and examine their own biases and prejudices, if at all they have. So I find that there are dearth of these efforts, and I'm taking this opportunity to suggest that among the next steps which the Society for Cyberabad Council should take is how proactively the engagement of men at workplace can be enhanced. And I would be more than happy, myself and my team members, to suggest plan of action and some specific pointers. If we have to appreciate what the governor was telling in his remarks, that there should be less number of shuttle,
Separate.
buses. So I think we have to proactively make measures in which male engagement can be really encouraged.
Thank you so much.
I just want to tell you that within our police department also, we conduct gender classes, gender sensitization classes, and I must thank Satyavati ma'am of Bhumika. She is our counseling in charge, and she conduct regular classes for our sub-inspectors, for our constables. This internal sensitization in every organization to the men is very much required, because there are many things. Everyone bringing up is different in the society. Everyone is not got trained about the laws related to gender and all. So this kind of exposure is very much required. I still remember last year we had organized a screening of movie Pink in the Infosys campus in Pocharam, and that program was attended by equal number of men. And after the movie, there was 1 hour one-to-one session, question-answer session, and I'm very happy to tell you that many men I found very much gender sensitized. This kind of things are required. In Margdarshak program also, I think it is the right time now, we should introduce male member also in the Margdarshak program. Am I right? Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you for such an engaging conversation.